Chapter 5: The Pleasure Palaces. Soon afterward, Prince Siddhartha and Princess Yashodhara were married. The king wanted to be certain that his son would never desire to leave the kingdom, so he ordered not one but 3 magnificent palaces to be built for the new couple. "Make them as beautiful as possible," he told the chief builder. "I want them to be so magnificent that the people entering them will think they are in heaven. I want one to be a summer palace, made of cool marble and surrounded by refreshing pools and fountains. The second will be the winter palace, warm and comfortable. And the third will be for the rainy season. Place these palaces in the middle of a large park, with beautiful scenery in every direction. And surround the park with a large wall, so that nothing unpleasant from the outside world can ever get in. Everything is to be so perfect that Prince Siddhartha will never be tempted to leave." The king did everything possible to make these new homes attractive to the prince. He had the most skilled musicians in his kingdom play there throughout the day and into the night. All the servants were beautiful young dancing girls, and the chefs in the kitchen were instructed to serve a never-ending variety of delicious food. Nothing was allowed into the palaces that might disturb the prince's mind and make him want to leave. And so for many years Prince Siddhartha lived in these heavenly surroundings. From morning to night he was entertained in 1,000 ways. He never heard any sound that was not sweet and pleasant, and never saw anything that was not beautiful. For instance, if one of the servant girls became ill, she was removed from the palace and was not allowed to return until she was better again. In this way the prince never saw sickness or anything that might disturb his gentle mind. The king ordered that no one speaking to the prince should ever mention anything sad or depressing. And even if one of the plants in the garden began to droop or wilt, it was immediately snipped off by a special gardener. Thus the prince never even saw a faded or dying flower. In all these ways, then, he was kept ignorant of the suffering and unpleasantness in the world. Time passed as if in a dream. Yashodhara gave birth to a son, Rahila, and everything seemed perfect. The king was very pleased, glad that his plan to keep the prince interested in the royal life was working out so well. But it was not meant that Siddhartha, whose birth was the cause for all the world's rejoicing, should pass his life in such idle splendor. Eventually, when the time was right, he would discover the true purpose of his life. Chapter 6: A Song of Beauty. One evening after dinner, Prince Siddhartha lay reclining on his couch, his head resting in Yashodhara's lap. The musicians were playing sweet melodies and the servant girls were whispering and laughing quietly to each other. The evening was like so many the prince had known since moving into the pleasure palaces. But this night he felt restless. Turning to one of his favorite singers, he requested, "Please lull us to sleep with a song. And choose a tune you have never sung for me before." The singer graciously agreed and began to make up a new song from the words that floated through her mind, all the while accompanying herself on a stringed instrument. She sang of the beauties of the world, of the distant lands where she had traveled as a child, of golden cities where happy people lived. The song enchanted the prince, and when it was over he asked the singer, "Tell me truly, are there really such beautiful places beyond these garden walls? What kind of lives do the people in the city live? Are there things in this world more lovely than what I have seen in these magnificent palaces? Please tell me all you know." "O Prince," she answered, "surely these palaces of yours are the most magnificent, but there are many other beautiful things to be seen in this wide world. There are cities and towns, mountains and valleys, distant lands where people speak strange languages. There are many things that I have seen, and many more that I have only heard about. Your palaces and gardens are indeed beautiful, but there is much to see outside their walls." Hearing this, the prince became interested in seeing all these strange, wonderful things for himself. For so many years he had been content to live within the pleasure palaces and gardens, completely forgetting about the world beyond. It was as if he had been living in a dream for all those years, and now he was beginning to wake up. He was no longer satisfied to remain within the beautiful surroundings he knew so well. Instead, he desired to journey forth and see what other wonders the world had in store for him. So he sent a message to the king requesting him to arrange a travel party into the city beyond the garden walls. The king received his son's message and thought to himself, "So now my son wishes to see our kingdom. So be it. He has stayed long enough inside his pleasure palaces. It is time for him to see the kingdom he will someday rule. Chapter 7: An Unexpected Sight. The king still wanted to be certain that his son would not see anything on his trip that might disturb his mind and make him want to leave the kingdom in order to follow the holy life. So the day before the prince was about to travel to the city, the king sent his servants and soldiers out with the message. By order of the king! Tomorrow the royal Prince Siddhartha will visit the capital city of Kapilavastu. Decorate your houses and streets and let everything be colorful in his honor. Let those who are sick or old or in any way unhealthy stay indoors tomorrow. Nothing should be seen in the city that is not young and fair and beautiful. And then, very gently, the soldiers took all the street beggars and brought them to a part of the city where the prince would not visit. When morning came, the charioteer Channa groomed the prince's favorite horse, Kantaka, and drove out through the palace gates with his royal passenger. It was the first time the prince had seen Kapilavastu since he was a small child, and it was the first time that most of the citizens of the city had ever seen their prince. Everyone was excited and lined the newly decorated streets to catch a glimpse of the handsome young man as he rode by. "How tall and good-looking he is," they said to one another. "How bright his eyes and noble his brow! We are indeed fortunate that someday he will be our king." And the prince, too, was delighted. The city was sparkling and clean, and everywhere he saw people laughing and cheering and even dancing. The streets where he rode were covered with the flower petals the citizens joyously threw at the feet of their beloved prince. The song was true, he remembered happily. "This is indeed a golden, beautiful, and wondrous city." But as the prince and his charioteer were riding by, they spotted a bent, sad-looking person among the joyous crowd. Curious, for the prince had never seen anything like this before, he turned and asked, "Channa, who is that person over there? Why is he stooping over and not dancing like the others? Why is his face not smooth and shining like everyone else's? Why is it pale and wrinkled? Why is he so different from the others?" And Channa pointed to that man, who remained unseen by everyone else, and answered the prince. "Why, sir, that is just an old man." "Old?" the prince questioned. "Was this man always old like this before, or did it happen to him recently?" "Neither, O prince," Channa answered. "Many years ago that wrinkled man before you was as young and strong as all the others you see here today. But slowly he lost his strength. His body became bent, the color faded from his cheeks, he lost most of his teeth, and now he appears the way he does." Surprised and saddened, Siddhartha asked again, "That poor man, is he the only one suffering the weaknesses of old age? Or are there any others like him? Surely you know, O prince, that everyone must experience old age. You, me, your wife Yashodhara, Rahila, everyone at the palace, we are all growing older every moment. Someday most of us will look like that man." These words so shocked the gentle prince that for a long time he remained speechless. He looked like a person who had just been frightened by a sudden lightning flash. Finally he regained his voice and spoke. "O Channa, I have seen something today that I never expected to see. In the midst of all these happy young people, this vision of old age frightens me. Turn the chariot back to the palace. All the enjoyment of this trip has fled. Turn back. I wish to see no more." Channa did as commanded. When they arrived back home, the prince entered his palace without greeting anyone, hurried upstairs to his own room, and sat by himself for a long time. Everyone noticed how strangely he acted and tried hard to cheer him up. But nothing helped. At dinner he did not touch any of his food, even though the chef had prepared his favorite meal. He paid no attention to the music and dancing, but sat by himself thinking. Old age, old age, old age.